Hey everyone, welcome back to part 3 of our 3-part series, just kind of outlining our thoughts on the carnivore diet. And in this series, we wanted to really focus in on protein because a carnivore diet is characterized by a high protein intake, right? When you're eating only animal products, you would actually have to go out of your way to not eat a good amount of protein. And not a lot of people on a carnivore diet do that. They really do eat a significant amount of protein relative to how much they weigh. And so in this video, we just wanted to touch on that and touch on, we know it's beneficial for body composition without a doubt, but what are the potential long-term detriments of eating a high protein diet, for years or possibly decades? And with this one, where do you want to start?
Kidney function.
You want to start with the kidneys?
Yeah, everyone says that it ruins your kidneys.
It is. It's
hard on the kidneys.
It's a common belief.
Even doctors say that stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's a pervasive belief that eating a high protein diet damages the kidneys. Why? Because protein metabolites are primarily disposed of by the kidneys. And so there's this idea that if you eat more protein, the kidneys are going to have to
work harder
and filter through more uremic toxins, right? And this is going to damage them over time. And it's basically an idea that came about by conflating people with pre-existing kidney disease and healthy people that are, possibly at risk of developing it, right? So when you look at people with kidney disease, yeah, you have to restrict protein intake or else it progresses the kidney damage. But that's because their kidneys have already become dysfunctional. When you're looking at the risk of developing kidney disease, that's not the case. Eating a high protein diet does not increase the risk of kidney disease.
Investigated that.
Yeah, we have meta-analyses that show there is no relationship between kidney function in people without kidney disease and protein intake. It's basically, it's bogus. So no, you don't have to be worried about your kidneys if you eat a high protein diet. And
what about bone health?
Bone health. This is a good one because I think this is actually an area where there is some potential for harm. And I say that because,
we've done videos on this too.
We have?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we must have done a video on this in the past, but here's the thing. Your bones are like a reservoir of alkaline minerals and bicarbonates. And these buffer acidity in your bloodstream, acidity that can come about through sulfurous amino acid consumption. Now, I would say that under normal conditions, it's not an issue. This idea is called the acid-ash hypothesis, and it's been investigated directly, and it's been investigated using the Bradford-Hill criteria, and it doesn't pan out, right? But the only reason it doesn't pan out, the only reason high protein diets do not increase the risk of osteoporosis and decrease bone mineral density is because 1, they increase calcium absorption from the GI tract. 2, they stimulate bone growth through growth factors like IGF-1. And 3, there's other aspects of the diet that counteract it, such as potassium intake. Potassium, in the ratio of potassium to protein explains 70% of the body's acidity.
So with a carnivore diet, when the potassium's low,
well, you're not getting something to help buffer that acidity, and your body's going to have to rely on the bone. And this is actually a very timely discussion because one of my friends, Nick Hybert, who, if you don't follow him on Twitter, you should. He just recently did a meta-analysis of ketogenic diet studies, all the ones that have assessed bone mineral density, and showed that being on a long-term ketogenic diet reduces bone mineral density compared to being non-keto.
Oh, wow.
And so this actually, and I just found out about this, it was either this morning or the other day. But this directly supports the theoretical basis for why a carnivore diet long-term would harm bone health. You're not eating the buffers that we would otherwise get in our diet, which are potassium, citrate, and bicarbonate, all of which you get from plants.
Yeah, I think that the carnivores, I have came across a subset of carnivores that actually drink milk. And I think that's probably the way to go if you're going to adopt a diet like this.
Yeah. And so, I
because
mean,
it has potassium and calcium
and phosphorus. Yeah, agreed. But you know what another smart move would be to counteract this one? Have some baking soda. Seriously. Because
I think some potassium bicarbonate, like 50-50, would be fine. I get scared to recommend potassium, obviously, for heart issues, but that's, if I was doing it, that's what I would do.
Yeah, and so, I mean, you're going to get potassium from meat. You are. But you need to retain the juices that you cook it in. So if you're not doing that, then start doing that. Other things you can do to offset this is either supplement potassium citrate directly. You can just buy it in bulk and do it. Or take, you know, potassium bicarbonate or sodium bicarbonate, because that potassium citrate, the potassium helps buffer, and then that citrate molecule gets turned into bicarbonate in the body, which is another primary extracellular buffer. And so these easy supplementation things are ways to help offset the acidity that the diet is causing.
See, that's bananas to me. Like, why not just eat?
Why not just? Well, because people want to adhere to diets for whatever reasons, and it's best if we give them ways to do that, right?
I've been there. I mean, I've followed extreme diets before too. I'm just at the phase where, I mean, it's kind of useless.
Yeah, right. Now, one final point I want to mention here is when I'm talking about acidity, your blood pH isn't going to drastically change.
That's the video I think we've done.
Yeah.
And that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, your blood pH isn't going to change dramatically, because if it did, you would die. What we're referring to,
the way it stabilizes it is from substrates.
Yeah, the buffering systems, like your bone. Yeah, your blood pH isn't going to change dramatically, but that's only because you're relying on things that are being sequestered from your bone to help buffer the acid load of the foods that you're eating, okay? So whenever you talk about acid-base balance in the body, it primarily deals with buffering systems, not actual blood acidity. Okay, so just let's clear that up, because a lot of people rag on this shit.
In the fitness world, it's so bad. It's like, you guys don't even understand how the body works. Shut up.
Yeah, because they're like, blood pH doesn't change. There's no point to drinking alkaline water or eating these alkalizing foods or things of that nature, because your blood pH doesn't change. Yeah,
like,
but that's a straw man. No one ever argued that it does. We're talking about the biochemistry of maintaining acid-base balance in the body, and that stuff is affected by what you eat. Okay, so getting off of that little tangent right there. Next, let's talk about the liver. So another common belief is that the liver has an upper limit capacity to how much protein it can metabolize in a day. And you turn, well, not protein specifically, but the ammonia byproduct, right? Proteins and amino acids have a nitrogen, and your body disposes of it by that nitrogen turns into ammonia, and then in your liver, it turns into urea. And then your body pees out urea in its urine. That's why it's called urine. Is there an upper limit on the liver? Possibly, but we haven't discovered it yet. A lot of researchers and review articles will rely on a study in 1973 conducted by Rudman, and it was in 10 healthy adults and then 23 adults with liver disease. The study had numerous methodological flaws that prevent drawing any conclusions about it. And even follow-up work 9 years later by Rudman again says, hey, that previous study was bullshit. We redid it with better methods, and we can't find an upper limit. It's a little too much to dig into all the research, but basically let's leave it at that. Doing napkin math based on their mathematical models, the upper limit currently for a protein intake per day is something like 12 grams per kilogram. But the researchers literally infused so many amino acids into participants' bloodstreams, they became nauseous and were vomiting, and they still didn't find an upper limit. And so the researchers in their paper, in the discussion, actually stated that, like, if an upper limit doesn't come about when concentrations in your bloodstream are so high that they make you throw up in a clinical setting, you're probably never going to reach it when you eat food, right? So we'll leave it at that. No known upper limit. And lastly, let's talk about longevity, because you eat a high protein diet, yet you look like you're, what, 20?
I'm almost 36.
Right. So, I mean, obviously it's not making you age.
No.
And
I eat a lot of plants, though.
No, fair point. It is a common belief that a high protein intake is going to shorten lifespan. I've written about this on my blog post, why a high protein diet or why a low protein diet for longevity makes no sense. Basically, all the research on that comes from rodents or nematodes, and these aren't appropriate models for numerous reasons to extrapolate to humans. Only 2 studies have been done in monkeys, rhesus monkeys, and one of them found no benefit. The other did find a benefit of restricting protein. The difference being that the one that found a benefit, they didn't just restrict protein, they also overfed the other monkeys on a standard American diet. So the study really just shows that if you don't eat a crappy diet and become obese, then your lifespan, like the monkeys who were restricted, their lifespan was not extended. Okay, it was just the lifespan of those eating the standard American diet was shortened. And that's a key difference.
We already know.
Yeah, we already know that, right? Don't eat a crap diet and don't get fat, and you'll live a long, healthy life. But there's no evidence to support lifespan extension in humans, right? All the data comes from inappropriate animal experiments and observational data.
But Walter Longo.
Right, and you have to contrast all of this with the known fact that low protein diets cause sarcopenia and frailty in the elderly, which are the leading causes of premature death. So basically you have, theoretical evidence compared to an insurmountable amount of like actual cause and effect intervention studies showing that premature mortality with low protein diets due to low amounts of muscle mass from sarcopenia and then frailty that they cause. So if anything, a high protein diet would likely extend lifespan. Okay.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, it was. So in short, biggest concern with a high protein diet is the microbiome stuff, which we talked about in the previous video, which can be circumvented with targeted prebiotic fiber supplementation, and then bone health, which can be circumvented with targeted supplementation of things like potassium and bicarbonate.
And I think your hormone system, and I would add in something like honey, or I would follow the carnivore diet that includes milk.
Yeah, basically just find a way to get
some kind of carbohydrate.
And so I think that's it. That concludes our little 3-part series on the carnivore diet. So, if you liked all of this, then awesome. That's what we're trying to do. And if you know someone who you think would benefit from hearing our thoughts on all this, then send our videos to them. Thanks.
Bye.